My name is Linda Middlesworth. I've been vegan since 1988. Why? Why is because I love animals more than anything, and I don't feel like we should be treating them the way we are. I don't feel I should be unhealthy either, so I became vegan before my health. And also, I want a climate to be alive. I want our climate and our earth to be here. And it's not going to be if we continue down the current path.
Now, what do you do for a living?
I have about 4 jobs. One of them, I'm an aerobic instructor and a personal trainer. The other one is I'm a vegan mentor coach. I teach Food for Life classes with Dr. Neil Bernard.
Oh, cool.
And take care of rescue dogs.
Oh, nice. So what do you do exactly with Neil Bernard?
Food for Life nutrition and cooking instructor. He has instructors like myself all around the world in every major city. So we put on classes to teach things like diabetes prevention and survival, cancer prevention and survival, how to lose weight on a Kickstart program, and we have kid programs as well. And I teach in the local colleges around me. In their biology class, I teach these cooking demonstration classes, and we hear from videos from Dr. Bernard when I teach, when any of us teach, and it's fabulous.
Yeah, a lot of people really love him.
Oh, and all the women are in love with him.
When you went vegan in 1988, what was the galvanizing thing that triggered that?
Well, I'm the type of person, if I get the information, I go with it. And I was walking my dog around the park, and I told my neighbor about my health problems. I had heart disease, severe heart disease, 258 cholesterol, high blood pressure. I was 50 pounds overweight. I had pre-diabetes, and I had cancer. So I was complaining to my new neighbor then, and she said, "Oh, don't worry about that. Just get a hold of Dr. John McDougall, and that'll go away." I said, "Who?" Anyway, I was so excited about that. I went right down and bought his book, read it from cover to cover. It all made such perfect sense. He had these overweight people who were fat and sick, and it showed their transformation in a very short time by just changing their food, just the food, that's it. Nothing else. They just changed from their regular standard American diet to a whole food plant diet. And I said, this is for me. I saw the transformation he had done with thousands of people already. And that was 34 years ago. I thought, if they can do it, I can do it. So so that's how I got started. But the next week, I was walking with my neighbor, walking around the park with our doggies. And she said to me, "You know what happens to dairy cows, don't you?" And I said, "Yeah, they give milk and cheese for us, you know. I'm going to miss that. I'm going to miss the cheese and the ice cream a lot." And she said, "Well, here's what happens to dairy cows." She told me how they had to be forcibly impregnated, and that they had to be pregnant the whole time so they could produce milk for us. And then after it was very miserable because they get mastitis and infections, and they don't want to be there. And on top of that, right after their babies are born, they take the babies, whether it's male or female, away from the mother at birth. If you did that to a human mother and their baby, they'd have police and cars running after them. But with cows, we don't seem to care because we want their milk, because people make such great big money off of that, off the dairy industry. After the poor mother cow is doing this milking and impregnation over and over again for about 4 years, she would naturally live about 24 years. But at 4 years old, they haul her off to be the hamburger. And I stood still in my tracks and I said, "You've got to be kidding me. I didn't know this. I'm 44 years old and I had no idea." And I thought, I know none of my family knows this either. I was absolute in shock I'm in shock to this day over this because I couldn't believe that I was so old before knowing the cruelty we were placing on mama cows. And then her baby boy cow was either shot immediately or he was put in a pen where he couldn't move much because they wanted to use his body for veal and they didn't want the muscles to get tough. So, and the poor little veal cows would suck each other's noses right through the crate holes because they wanted to suckle something. As babies do, they want to suckle. And so I was, again, just terrified that I didn't know, horrified that I didn't know, and I became a vegan animal rights activist on the spot.
You went in for ethical and health reasons.
Yeah,
like,
in 1 week.
Like all that, like pretty intensely.
No.
So you said you had cancer.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, I did.
Do you still?
No. I got rid of my cancer.
What kind was it?
Well, I had thyroid cancer.
Oh, wow.
And unfortunately, I met Dr. John McDougall 1 week after my first radiation. Had I met him 1 week before that, I wouldn't have had that one radiation, but I didn't know him yet. And because of that one radiation, they destroyed most of my thyroid. And they told me, you have to keep going with your radiation and then your chemotherapy. And I said, I read his material, John McDougall. I said, nope, sorry. I had read about in one of his books that this lady had had breast cancer and she had radiation and chemo and it kept going over and over again and she couldn't get rid of her breast cancer. And then they told her, we have to stop for a while because your body has to rest. And then she found Dr. John McDougall. And she's cancer-free, eating a whole food plant diet under him, a starch-based diet. So I knew she did that, I'm gonna do that. And I did. And I no longer have cancer. I never came back. Wow. Never returned.
What other changes did you notice after going vegan?
Well, I lost my very severe heart disease. And because my doctor said, you'll probably die of your heart disease before your cancer. Yeah. That's how bad it was. Wow. And my dad had died of a heart attack at 62 in the kitchen right after he'd had a roast beef dinner for Sunday. I watched him die of a heart attack right in the little kitchen we had. And I thought, oh boy, I'm gonna die too. But I didn't die and I reversed my heart disease. I also had pre-diabetes because I was eating all the wrong food. I was causing my cells to get blocked up with fat so that the insulin couldn't bring the glucose into my cells. That's pre-diabetes, and then it gets worse and you have full-on diabetes and you lose your fingers and your toes, maybe your leg, and your eyesight goes terrible. So I avoided all of that because I have no more blood sugar issues at all, no diabetes at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, you're such a vast testimony of awesomeness.
Well, when your life's on the line, when the doctor tells you you have cancer with a big C, I was so young, I was, 44. And a few years earlier, before the thyroid issue, I had a big lump in my breast, that big. And the doctor took it out. That was a different doctor. He said, fortunately for you, it's not cancer. And I said, well, why do I get that lump? I don't know anybody in my family with a lump. He kind of did a botched job on it too. I got infected, but anyway, he said it's not cancer. Oh, I was so happy, but I didn't know why I had it. And I told him, I said, it's because my food, and I told him what I ate. I ate fish and I ate chicken, the healthy food, and turkey, and maybe cottage cheese with pineapple and yogurt. Those are good for you. He said, oh, those are fine. My doctor said those are fine. I was glad to hear that, but I still didn't know why I had that lump. Now, after talking to Dr. John McDougall, I know why I had that lump. It's caused by excess estrogen floating around in my body. And when you get excess estrogen, which comes from eating animal products, any kind, eggs, dairy, meat, any kind of meat, fish, chicken, turkey, whatever, you eat it, that causes excess estrogen to happen in your body. Now, some people guess don't do it as fast as I did, but I got it at 40, before 44. I was about 40. That should have been a wake-up call for me, and it should have been a wake-up call for my doctor, but he said nothing at that time. So I was glad to know that I could eat what I wanted, but I didn't know that what I was doing is growing my thyroid cancer. That was an experience and a half, but now I know why I have it, because thank you to Dr. John McDougall who saved my life. If I hadn't found Dr. McDougall by accident there, I think I would not be alive today, because my path was heart disease and cancer and prediabetes. It was not, I was sick. And this is the other really sad part. I was an aerobic instructor, and sometimes I was teaching 25 classes a week, from kickboxing to Zumba to step to weight training. I'm also a personal trainer, so I'm very strong. Here, I thought I was eating healthy. I'm doing all this exercise. I ran marathons, half marathons, and I thought, how could I get this stuff? I mean, I'm the healthy one. It's the food. As Dr. John McDougall will tell you, it's the food, all about the food. And so fortunately I found him, and I could live my life now. Because now I'm 78, and I feel like, I don't know, maybe 25 at the most.
Nice.
And not only that, I'm still teaching aerobics. I'm the oldest instructor of a whole bunch of gyms. And I am strong. I don't know if you can see that, but I am strong. I can outdo some of my 30-year-olds. And there's nobody older teaching in all those gyms than myself. And I'm proud of that fact, that I can be feeling so good, better than any time in my life at my age. I wake up in the morning and want to get up and do my jobs, all of them, because I feel so good, because we all desire to look good and to feel good. That's what makes happiness for us, ourselves. Without being healthy, it's hard to be happy. I have so many friends who I love dearly. They're not listening to the message about the food. They're quite unhealthy and overweight usually, and I can't do anything about it, but they're kind of depressed, to be honest. They don't get that happy feeling in the morning when they wake up like I do. I go, oh great, it's another day, and think what I can do today. It's sad when your friends and family don't understand this message yet.
I heard recently there's I think it's an amino acid specifically found abundantly in meat called, I think, proline, that is associated with depression.
Oh, that could be.
Yeah, and
I don't
you're
doubt
making me
that.
think of that right now.
Yeah, well, heme protein is dangerous. A heme protein comes from animal products,
Yeah.
and that is the most dangerous of all. Our culture is promoting protein as your way to get strong and healthy and have energy. Protein doesn't give you energy. It gives you protein, but we don't need that protein. The animal protein gives us heart disease, cancer, autoimmune diseases. All your chronic diseases come from eating protein from animal products. So we have to take those out of our diet if you want to be healthy.
Yeah. Processed foods, though, like that are, even the plant-based ones, are bad too, right?
Yeah, they're not good either.
Yeah.
They aren't as bad for the animals and the earth, but they're still bad for you to eat processed food. When I started out, even under John McDougall, I wasn't perfect at first. So I don't expect my clients to be perfect at first. I started out with a lot of processed food. We call it processed vegan junk food. I didn't have oil in it because Dr. McDougall said no oil. But it still was a lot of, like cashew ice cream and vegan cheeses, the ones without oil. I even ate the hot dogs and some hamburgers, and it wasn't healthy, and I never could get my weight down exactly where I wanted it either, because I was 50 pounds overweight as an aerobic instructor. And so it wasn't until I reread Dr. McDougall, and then I started using his wife Mary's recipes, that I finally started to take the weight off and reverse all my chronic diseases. So it worked out really well.
So prior to going vegan, you were also eating processed foods, right?
I was eating processed food before I was vegan too.
Yeah. So some people might argue that, well, maybe it was just the processed foods you cut out, not the animal.
No, because when you find out from Dr. John McDougall about the science, it's the type of even processed food is better than for you than animal product of any kind. We know that eggs are very high in cholesterol. I think it's 272. Beef isn't that high. So it doesn't matter the animal food, whatever it is, we found out from the science that our body doesn't like that. It actually makes us become sick and fat. So once I took that out, I was already better. But the processed food meant I couldn't quite lose all the weight I wanted. So basically, eating a lot of processed food kept my weight up a little bit, but once I took that out, no problem. Weight came off.
Did you notice health improvements before cutting the processed food out after going vegan? Like as a processed vegan?
Yeah, no, as a processed food vegan, I started losing my heart disease. My cancer never came back, and my high blood pressure went away.
Wow.
I just couldn't, I lost 25 pounds, but I needed another 25, and it was going so slowly. It was from the processed vegan food. So it probably would have happened over time, even with processed food. I wasn't willing to wait any longer. I wanted that weight gone once I realized and looked in the mirror and told, you have to look in the mirror sideways and front side without your clothes on to be honest with yourself, because it was obvious I needed to. But you know, when you wear baggy clothes, you don't notice so much. So that's when I got honest with myself. Actually got on the scale and then got off. Now at 78, I am 5'8" and 119 pounds. So I'm very proud of that. That's because I eat whole food, plant foods. Chef AJ later on in my life even cleaned me up more because she took out the sugar and the salt. I already had most of the salt. I still have a little salt, but the oil was already gone. But I don't eat sugar now, at least not very often, unless it's date sugar.
Do you identify with being vegan or just plant-based?
Oh my goodness. I was plant-based for 1 week. When I found out what happened to dairy cows, I immediately jumped into vegan. And the word vegan means do no harm to any animals, not human, or try to protect them and have no cruelty towards animals. It was coined by Donald Watson in 1944, the year I was born.
Wow.
So I know that was meant for me. So Donald was thinking of me. And I became an animal rights activist the minute I found out about the dairy cows. I researched, found out what happened to all the animals. The piggies who are killed 6 months old. They're just little babies. And the baby lambs who are used for milk too. The goats, the goat milk. And then these are all babies we're killing, taken from their mama. This is wrong. And then chickens, one of the most abused of all, because we kill about 1 million chickens every hour. These chickens, they are loving mothers too, and they want to be with their babies as well. And yet we take their eggs from them. And the problem with taking their eggs from them, from every egg, whenever there's a chicken born, if she's female, she gets to become a mother like her mother did, but she has a miserable life, either crammed in a big shed or in a cage, and has to produce eggs over and over again. They turn off the lights, they cut their beaks so they can't touch each other, and they become overfed so they can't even stand up on their legs. It is so cruel, and yet for every female chicken born, there's a baby boy. So 50% of the baby chicks are killed if they're a boy, just from being a boy. A little baby boy is thrown into a macerator and chopped up alive, or stuffed in plastic bags to suffocate. This is so wrong. That was it. You know, I also I helped with animal rescue, and that was really an experience. We would go to a chicken farm and we'd ask the farmer if we could have a couple. And sometimes they said yes, and sometimes they said no, and sometimes we grabbed one and ran. And then one of the worst times I had was we went to a vigil for cows, and there was a big ditch, and in the ditch was a whole bunch of dead cows, mama cows. And they had a baby, and I don't know why they had the baby, but they took the baby, boy or girl, I don't know which. I don't know what was wrong with her or him, but they put the baby, a live baby, on top of that dead cow pile. And all the rescuers who were with me, I didn't go down, but they went down to try to pick up the baby cow to save it. And when they came up, they had the police there. They called the police, and we had to put the live baby cow back on top of the mamas. I still have PTSD over this. We never could rescue him or her, and it was heartbreaking.
Now, do you do this with an organization like
Yeah,
Direct
I did.
Action
It was
Everywhere?
called Direct Action Everywhere. Another time, I did a tour of California farms. I told them we were foodies, but it was called the Animal Compassion Tour. And we took 22 people on a big van, and we would stop. I'd take the sign off the side of the van, walk in and tell them we wanted to see where our food comes from because we're foodies. And a lot of places let us in. That's where I saw the mother cows trying to kick off the machine that was on her breast. It was so horrible. And then one time we went to Harris Beef Ranch, one of the big beef ranches in California. And we drove up with the van. We just talked to them at the front window, and they thought something was wrong. So they called the police. They arrested 2 of us. They thought the Linda that they arrested was me. My friend Linda got arrested instead, and another person. That was awful. But anyway, I was filming all this because I wanted to make a movie. And Eric, who was filming for us, when we got back, he took off. I don't know what happened to him. So I don't have that film. It didn't matter anyway because my husband passed away right after that. So I wasn't thinking about the movie anymore. He had passed away by falling on a mountain in Glacier, Montana. That was 8 years ago. No, sorry, 9 years ago.
Was he vegan too?
Oh, he was a vegan, big vegan, yeah. He helped start our dog food company. Well, we both had the idea together. We started v-dog.com. Yeah.
Get out of here, that's you?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, way.
That is a trip. Wow. I had
Well,
no idea.
my middle son, Darren Middlesworth, fortunately after my husband died, he took over the company. He had been helping my husband a little bit, and then he just took over the company for us. That was like 8 years ago. Yeah. He took over the company. The company's been in existence since 17 years. And so we have dogs all over the United States, but then we have around the world, but our name had to change because my dear husband said somebody could use our name. My husband, somebody from England called and said, "Can we use your name? We really like your name." And he said, "Okay." Well, they started another V-Dog company in Europe. So our name around the world outside of the United States is V Planet. We sell in Australia and Hong Kong and Saudi Arabia and all over the place. And that's V Planet.
Are you going to get into cats at all?
Oh no, cats. I told my people want us to do cats as well. We might do a supplement for a cat that would be good, but cats are obligate carnivores. Dogs they're omnivores. And modern dog has changed since the wolf day. Over thousands of years, they developed 28 more amylase, which allows them to digest starches. So they can digest starch, allowing us to make a real healthy dog food out of plants.
Yeah. And then I guess cats need taurine.
Well, we use taurine in our dog food. It's a vegan version of taurine and L-carnitine. Mm-hmm. But cats actually are obligate carnivores, so I wouldn't want to mess with that.
Yeah.
They really, they're not omnivores.
But there is products out there for cats.
They can, but I don't want to make anybody's cat sick by accident.
Yeah.
That would be scary to me.
I'm so glad we're talking about this because in the comment section of one of my videos, somebody was like, well, cats can be vegan too, just give them this food or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but I used to say that to people, but then somebody I know who has a cat, they were worried about it. And I'm like, well, I can't say I know.
Yeah.
I know beyond all reasonable doubt that this is not going to hurt.
I don't want 100,000 cats to be fine and then one die because of the food. It's too scary to me. I trust what we're doing because we did so much research And we know the dogs, and we know now dogs can be vegan because the proof is in the pudding. We have the lab reports from our dogs. I have a big dog, 83 pounds, a rescue pit bull mix, and I have another little pit bull mix, Frenchie pit bull mix. She just had her lab work 2 weeks ago. Her lab numbers are perfect, and she's just known V-Dog, so.
It sounds like it's all been good for you, like going vegan. Has there been some challenges?
The biggest challenge is the way I presented it to my other 2 children who didn't get it. Having pushback, and that's what, I was just a speaker at the conference right before the National Health Association conference. It was a certification and a summit on how we inspire others and how to do it in a positive way so that we don't get pushback. Because
And that's through We Did It.
Through wedidit.health, and you can look that up, wedidit.health, and sign the 1-minute survey. We're trying to get 1 million signatures. Then we're going to put it on Times Square. Did a plant food-based diet help you? And then when we get the 1 million signatures, we're going to put it up in Times Square. 1 million vegans helped by our diet. So the challenges for me were, if I had known what I found out from the We Did It psychologist here, Dr. Angela Crawford, I would have presented it to my children much differently. I got it right away, remember? Somebody told me I did it. Somebody told me I did it. First 1 week she said, this is how you help your health, get a hold of Dr. John McDougall. And then she told me what happened to the cows, the dairy cows. I became both a plant-based eater and a vegan on the spot. And I thought everybody would do that. I thought once they knew the truth, it'd be like me. Oh my goodness, I didn't know that. I'm switching like I did on the spot. Well, the family culture with my 2 other children is such that their protocol is based on eating animals, and they're not changing that. They have a happy, healthy family. Nobody was sick yet, and they didn't want to hear one part of it. Fishing was big in one family, and I was in shock. Then I became like the pariah in the family. Like, don't invite mom, she might say something. And then it got really bad. Over 34 years, it kept getting worse. It's not better. Had I done it the way I found out from Dr. Angela Crawford, I probably wouldn't have had this issue. There's ways to go about presenting to friends and family, especially family, that don't have you get the backlash. Now I know what to do, but it's a little late. So I just have to wait and never say anything again ever, and hope that one day, I hope we don't have to wait till somebody gets sick. As it is, my granddaughter, age 22, had her gallbladder out. You don't need to have your gallbladder out. The other name for gallbladder stones, do you know what they're called? They're called cholesterol stones. And there's only cholesterol in animal products. Plant products have no cholesterol. So she was eating high fat and cholesterol animal products. To have this gallbladder taken out so young, she was out of commission for like 6 weeks.
The family is a common challenge, and it sounds like you've learned from this doctor that there's some techniques that you might be able to employ. What were those techniques that are so great?
Well, there's about 10 of them, and I'll just tell you one of the main ones I learned. Had I could start all over again with my family, I wouldn't have gone and said, by the way, I'm getting healthy. I got rid of this, I got rid of that. Look at me. And you could too. You don't have to do what I did. You can save yourself. And you can help the animals too. Instead of going at it like that, like I'm making the assumption there's something wrong with them, and nobody likes to feel like they've been doing it wrong, especially my 2 members of my family. If I had just kept it on talking about myself a little bit, like, oh my goodness, you guys, I lowered my cholesterol. Look at that. I'm so proud of myself. And nothing more. If they said, how'd you do that, Mom? I said, oh, I'm following a plant diet with Dr. John McDougall. And say nothing more. Not tell you how and why and what happened, all the details. But no, I had to be pushy, I wasn't trying to be pushy, but you're automatically pushy if you are assuming that they don't know something and you know it all. I was the know-it-all, and that didn't work. So that's one of the main things.
See, the thing about that, I feel like I would have never went vegan if I hadn't watched Gary Yourofsky's Best Speech Ever. Have you ever heard
Gary,
of
I love Gary. Oh my gosh.
He's
yeah.
so blunt.
Oh yeah.
And I needed that. You know, I needed somebody to be blunt.
You're like me. I needed a Gary. I needed my neighbor. She told me one thing and that was it. You needed a Gary video. That was it for you. It would have been, if I'd seen Gary first, it would have been, oh yeah, I'm in. You know, no problem. So I get that. Gary Yourofsky is one of my very favorite speakers, but I can't do that with people. I'm a coach now, and I don't ever tell them to watch Gary now. But what I do is, because I usually start with health problems with me, although I just picked up a new client. She says, Linda, I don't care about my health much, but I care about animals, do you? And I said, wow, you're different. She said, oh, I thought everybody did it for animals, because she's like you and me. She wants to know what's happening to the animals. And so I'm going to work with her in the direct fashion. She's going to watch Gary, you know, no problem. She's going to watch Earthlings, the movie. She's going to watch What the Health, all of them. Dominion. She'll watch all the animal movies for sure, because that's where her heart is. And she doesn't have much weight to lose, maybe 10 pounds, and that'll be easy with her. So I'm trying to get her off processed food, processed junk food, because that's one downfall she has. But she'll do it. Some people, like you and me, we can take a direct approach. But most people cannot.
How do you know, though? How do you know resistance is inevitable, right?
Not necessarily. You have, like, you have to get the. If you sign up for We Did It .health, take the 1-minute survey, you'll get the ebook from her. This shows you the way, right there. So you need to get her ebook.
Well, you know, like Earthlings, they say path of truth is resistance, opposition, and then acceptance. When the people are faced with the truth, they're likely to resist it.
Yeah, that's what you have to do it differently, because you don't know that person. What you have to do is get to know that person a little bit. Like my new client, I found out she's right into animals, she's ready. But the other people I get for clients, I take about 8 to 10 clients per month. I have to ask them, what are your goals? What is it you want in this life for yourself? What interests you? What foods do you like now? And I found out, like most people, they're addicted to cheese because it's like a narcotic. It's that strong. The addiction for dairy is that strong. It's meant to make a baby cow come back to its mother and not wander away. So when we eat it, we become like a baby cow and got to have it over and over again. You have to find out about who you're talking to. You have to get to know them a little bit. See, that one client who's into animals, no problem. She told me right away. So I just could go right into whatever I wanted to with the animals. But the other people, I have to find out a little about them. I'm a nurse and I'm 200 pounds overweight and I love this and that, but they don't say one thing. They don't even have a dog sometimes, you know, or a cat. They don't even have a pet. So they're just not into thinking about animals at all. And once you find that out, you have to approach differently. Just keep asking questions.
Imagine being in a situation where you care about this person and they're eating themselves to death.
Yeah, oh, that's horrible.
You sense the resistance. You don't want to just wait for them to be ready.
Sometimes you do. Sometimes you do, because if you do it wrong, you can get pushed back like this. Like I have a lady in my aerobics class, because I teach aerobics, whose husband is about ready to get a leg amputated from diabetes. And she has breast cancer. And she did the chemo and the radiation. And she's still coming to my class because she's finished with that part right now. And right now it looks cancer-free, but eating the way she does it most likely will come back. And he has diabetes. So I popped out my Reversing Diabetes book from Dr. Neil Bernard and my Survival and Prevention Cancer book. I gave her both books. I said, read these, you guys. Okay, this will really help you, and then you email me when you're done and I'll help you. I'll get you on the right path. She's still in my class 2 years later. Not one word. Her family situation, her culture, her everything is about that family eating, and how they eat is like this strong. And I can't break it. So, and if it's a family member, it's even harder. I didn't get anywhere, and I have to let it be. I'm hoping that somebody else will say something in her life, or some doctor she'll find will be plant-based, and she can find out. But unless she gets something else, another message somehow, or if he dies or he gets his leg amputated, maybe, unless her doctor tells her she can eat what she's eating. Her doctor tells her husband he can eat what he's eating, because the doctors eat that way. They don't use a Hippocratic oath. They use what they don't mean to be mean, but they've been trained on drugs and surgery and not prevention. They wouldn't have any clients either if they didn't have all this prevention to do and pills to sell. You know, they make a lot of money off those drugs. I believe doctors really do like to help people, because the doctors I had before, one I have now, was not vegan, but he was a very nice man, and he did care. I knew he cared about me, but he wasn't vegan, so he didn't even know what to suggest. They don't get nutrition in medical school, as Dr. John McDougall will tell you. He got a lot of backlash from other doctors when he began giving his lifestyle medicine to his patients, and they were getting well. And you could see the charts: plant-based, meat eater, vegetarian. Only the plant-based were making it. I mean, young girls by the age 10 are already getting their period because they're eating animal products. That again is the excess estrogen rolling around in their body. Little children are becoming obese because the parents aren't monitoring their food. They're handing them all these animal products, and some of them are really processed animal products too, like all these milkshakes and, you know, just things that are really hurting their children.
The thing is sometimes we might plant a seed. Like sometimes I'll ask people, do you have any success stories? And a lot of times people realize they don't know to what extent they've influenced somebody.
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah. So could it be that maybe you're getting resistance, but somehow it's getting through?
I got a great story for that. It happened this morning, because I'm always I wear vegan hats and vegan shirts, and I'm always talking about it. I even asked the cash register, hey, are you vegan yet? And I can see they're not, but anyway, I'm talking about it always, especially people I don't know and probably won't see again. This morning, I'm at a conference for the National Health Association, and before that for the We Did It Health campaign. And this morning, in this beautiful hotel, this morning there was another conference right next door. And I looked at the food they were eating: sausages and bacon and eggs and cheese omelets and all these horrible things. And the lady at the counter said, oh, this is a doctor's conference. I said, a doctor's conference? This is their food? And I started laughing very loudly. And she said, oh yeah, that's their food. And so here were all these doctors sitting around at these tables where I am right now. And I walked right up to like 5 doctors that were sitting around one table. They were all overweight by about, I don't know, 20 to 30 pounds. Not much, but enough you could see it. And I said, you're doctors? And they said, yes. And I said, oh, that's great. Thank you for being a doctor and helping people. But if you're eating this food, you don't want to live? Is that your point? You want to die early? I don't understand. I was being very direct because I knew I'll never see him again, and I wanted to plant the seed very quickly. And I said, you eat the sausage and the eggs and the cheese, you're going to cause heart disease and diabetes and autoimmune disorders. And where's your Hippocratic oath when you talk to your patients? You're supposed to have signed that one. And I said, I realize you probably didn't get any nutrition in your medical degree, but you need to go on to the American College of Lifestyle Medicine and get that too. So you too can follow the Hippocratic oath and become doctors who really do help people, not just hand out drugs and surgeries. And they laughed at me. But I was standing right here, and there was all of them sitting around the table, and they had to laugh it off because what else could they do? And I said, just think about that. I wish I had said, look up Dr. John McDougall, but I forgot that part. Next time I'll say that. They were absolutely laughing. They didn't know what to do with it. So I said, just remember what I said, okay? Because anyway, your guys are all overweight. This is not a good example for your client, your patients. And one guy said, thanks for noticing. And I said, I'm just being honest here. You need to take off about 20, 30 pounds, which isn't a lot, but you need to take it off. I would have added to the one, by the way, you have man boobs. You know why you have man boobs? Because you're eating animal products and it causes excess estrogen in your body. And you don't want prostate cancer, right? Oh. So anyway, that what happened this morning and I felt so good about it.
How do you stay positive in such a sick world?
Well, I figured there's one chance at having a planet. I don't want a dead planet. As Dr. McDougall said, I don't want a dead planet because if we don't take care of this now, we will not have a planet anyway. We're going to kill it. We're killing it now. 45% of our arable land is used to grow food or feed and kill animals. And this is wrong because we need that food to give to ourselves. We have people starving in other parts of the world who grow grain to give to our cows.
And these cows were forced into existence.
And they're forced into existence. They're being bred to be killed and taken from their mothers and killed. It is wrong. And as long as we use our land for breeding and killing animals, we will not have a planet. And of course, cows are the world's biggest ocean predator. Want to know why? Because we feed fish to the cows and they're vegetarians. And then we give them antibiotics because they're sick. They're not supposed to be eating fish. The reason the fish are being depleted from the oceans is because one tuna, they get $1 million for one tuna. That's the money. And then they kill the dolphins for no reason at all, except for they pick the dolphins out of the water, slit their throat, and throw them back in. Why? They're competing for the fish they're trying to catch. And of course, all the whales and everybody caught in the big nets is killing all the ocean, everything, all the algae coming up, everything.
So how do you stay positive?
How do I stay positive? I have to stay positive because I want to keep our earth alive. I want my grandchildren to be able to have water and air and land to live on and to eat from. So it's my only hope. And there's enough really great people like Dr. John McDougall saving thousands of lives. There's groups like the National Health Association. There's the We Did It Health campaign founded by Peter Goldstein. And there's all kinds of groups and agencies growing all over the world to help educate people about what's going on. And hopefully we'll get more and more people to be open-minded. PCRM, Dr. Neil Bernard, my boss, so to speak, is training doctors as fast as they can. And they're making sure that we educators, like I'm a Food for Life cooking and nutrition instructor, they're making sure that we teach classes everywhere so people get the information faster.
Could you be with somebody who isn't vegan?
No. I have a boyfriend, a partner, now for 7 years. And when he met me, I told him what happened. He said, okay. He went vegan on the spot.
Oh, wow.
He's not into for animals like me, and he doesn't like to tell everybody like I do. But that's okay. He's doing it, and he's very interested in climate change. So he's realizing from Dr. Richard Openlander, Food Choices and Sustainability is his book. And he's learning from Glenn Mercer, Food is Climate book, that your food choices, 87% of greenhouse gases are from raising animals, livestock, and taking the marine life out of the ocean, that too. So it's all causing climate change. And so if we need a climate here, I want my grandchildren, great-grandchildren to have a planet to live on. And I want animals not to suffer. And I'll work for that till my dying breath. I have a shirt I made that says, I will work until my last breath to save animals. And that's the way I feel about this life. I need to save them. I can hardly go by a day without crying a little bit because I think about what the lives animals are going through. I've seen it. It is horrifying. Why don't we take our children to go see where our meat comes from? Why don't we take them to a slaughterhouse? We'll take them to a peach or an apple orchard, but no way would you take them to a slaughterhouse, because we know deep down this is wrong. And protein, where do you get it? When I say where do you get your protein, which is what everybody, the first question they ask me every time I tell them I'm vegan or plant-based, either one, where do you get your protein? If we needed protein from an animal, here's what would happen. I learned this from my friend Colleen Patrick Goudreau. If you're walking by the street and there's a cow farm right here and there's a bunch of cows grazing out on the grass and you hadn't had lunch yet and you're hungry, if we were true omnivore or carnivore, we would look at the cow and go, oh my God, I haven't had lunch. My eyes would dilate, the fangs would be here, and I would jump over the fence and try to claw and eat that cow right there on the spot, like a true omnivore or carnivore would do. But you know what happens to us? We jump over the fence, look in the big brown eyes and want to pet and kiss the nose on that cow, because we love animals. We just separate it. As you learn from Dr. Melanie Joy, she wrote the book, Why Do We Love Dogs, Eat Pigs, and Wear Cows? I love her story. She wrote a book, and there was a dinner party. And in the dinner party, they had a big stew they made for the dinner party. And somebody said, oh, this is the best stew I've ever had. Can you give me the recipe? Oh yeah, the host said, sure, you start off with a pound of well-seasoned ground retriever. Then you add your carrots and your potatoes and your onions and your tomato sauce, and everybody stops eating. They can't eat it now. It's a golden retriever in there. Well, our culture says we can have one animal for food and another animal to wear and then one to love, but it's all separated, and it depends on what culture you're in. In China and Asian countries, dog meat is terrific for them. They love it. We think that's outrageous. We use alligators for purses and whatever, so it's horrible. But our culture demands us to believe it. We get ads on TV about the drugs we take to fix whatever illness we have. We have ads for hamburgers and hot dogs and sausages and free Taco Tuesday. I mean, with meat in it. I make great tacos without any meat. Our culture designs what we eat, and we need to change that. So that's why we need to take the time to educate everybody and anybody you can in a nice, positive way. First, find out where their influence is for themselves, what they care about, so that you get it right and don't get the pushback that I did with my family.
Why do you think some people quit?
Cravings are there, and they slip up. And so they need, again, Dr. Angela Crawford, because you learn how to refocus your cravings. And you think, okay, what are my goals? What do I want for myself? You have to learn how to do that step. And another reason people fall off is they never got the animal connection or the earth connection, but mainly they didn't get the animal connection of why it's ethically wrong to hurt the animals to eat. They just are trying to get healthier, which is good. But they never got the reason the animals are suffering. It's real easy to want to slip back into it when you don't have that perspective.
You think we'll ever see a vegan world?
Yes, I'm hopeful.
How can we get there?
Not only we have conferences like we have today, the We Did It.health campaign is a big resource. We have a 1-minute survey you sign if you sign up with them. Why a plant-based diet has benefited you. 1-minute survey. And with that survey, when we get 1 million of them, signatures, we're going to put it up on Times Square. And numbers count. We'll be, oh, and hardly anybody's vegan. Oh, well, here's 1 million right here, or plant-based. It's power in numbers. And then we also have communication styles that we're going to teach people how to keep this message going in a positive way. We're going to have community. We're going to have a way for people who already are learning about being plant-based to have community. And having a support system is going to grow it even faster. Because when you feel all alone or isolated, it's hard to move this movement forward. I mean, we've known this since Donald Watson, 1944, and even before, they've known about the benefits. We have to get the message out, and this is one way. And all our conferences we have are helping it quickly. But I really like the We Did It .health campaign.
I interviewed Peter in Colorado also.
Oh, did you? Oh, yeah. Oh, he's brilliant. I mean, I never would have thought of this, and I think another way that, like people like myself who are already plant-based for many years even, I'm going to start going to grocery stores, especially in smaller towns where they're like food deserts. I mean, they don't have anything healthy to eat. Somebody here told me there's 2 grocery stores not too far from where I am right now in Cleveland, and they're like food deserts. There's no healthy food in there. All kinds of processed food and lots of meat and cheese and eggs. Any healthy food that's meant for our body is not there, or very little, I should say. And so what I'm going to do, and other people in my group are going to do, we're going to go to those grocery stores and we're going to ask for what we want to be present. I also want to start doing what Chef AJ did once. She had a fast food joint make a burger after her. Name a burger after her, and they used her recipe.
I did that once. It's called the Jeff salad instead of a chef salad.
Oh, how cute. I love it.
It's at my friend's Mexican restaurant.
Oh, good. Yeah, so we have to start this with different restaurants around us too. Start their menu to add that in, because they start making more money, by the way, because a lot of people are asking for vegan food. Even on my vegan restaurants, I'm starting a whole campaign to have a no oil. Oil, people understand, plant food, but with oil is still not good for you. You got to take out the oil. That's just the way it is. It hurts your arteries, gives you heart disease, inflames for cancer. People don't know that. You got to eat the whole food, eat the olive, eat the coconut, but not the oil. We have to start little by going out, reaching out, not only speaking at groups, giving cooking demos. People need to know how to do it too. I find that a lot of people just don't know how to start. So it's important to listen to Chef AJ, especially Tammy Kramer from Nutmeg Notebook. Oh my good, there's Cassie Fisher. I mean, there's so many people who can tell us how to do it. And if you need resources, you can just write to me and I will give you the resources to find out how to do it.
What are some of your favorite foods that you like to eat? And like on a typical day, what do you eat?
Well, today, they had a chocolate brownie was to die for. I ate 3 of them. They were so good. I think you were supposed to have 1. I had 3. For holidays, I make Chef AJ or Rip Esselson's lasagna. It's cashew-based. Yummy. I usually keep my food very simple, though, on my daily basis. I eat a lot of potatoes. And most of my diet is starch, like 80 to 90%. It's either rice and beans and salsa, starch-based. I eat a lot of potatoes. I air fry some of them, but sometimes I just microwave. Make it quick and easy. And then I throw in some greens with maybe one of the sauces and dressings that are oil-free. I love fruit. I have blueberries every day. I have blueberries. And then I have cantaloupe a lot, and mangoes, and sometimes a banana, apple, pear. Just yummy, and you can start your day with just fruit if you want. But I have oatmeal in the morning with my blueberries and my banana, and flaxseed. Flaxseed is important to stop cancer cell growth, by the way. So I add 1 or 2 tablespoons of flaxseed every morning to my breakfast, because Dr. Christy Funk showed us that it actually kills cancer cells. I had cancer once before I was plant-based. I don't want it back. So I eat my flaxseed every day. Also has omega-3s and a lot of fiber, so it's all good. I eat a lot of tacos and a lot of potatoes. That's my, and beans and rice too, but mostly potatoes. I'm a real potato freak.
Are you on any medications?
I am only on B12. It's the only supplement any of us need. I have to take thyroid because I didn't know about this diet 1 week before I met McDougall, and they radiated my thyroid that one time and destroyed most of it. So I have to take a thyroid medication. I wouldn't take it otherwise.
And I guess you don't have any ailments right now.
No,
Wow.
none. No.
Wow. Half your life ago, you were about to go out.
Oh, I was about to die. I would have been dead 30 years ago if I hadn't found my Dr. John McDougall.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, no, he's my lifesaver. I have 5,000 people in my meetup group. That's the other thing you can do in your own town is start your own meetup. It's called Sacramento Vegan Society. We put on dine-outs. Well, the COVID, we kind of backed off on the dine-outs, but now we're back into dine-outs. Put on speaker events. During COVID, I went on Zoom and did Go Compassionate Live, and I did Go Healthy Live. I had Chef AJ, other people, but it was really good. But before that, I put on big speaker events, and I had all the big doctors, Dr. Campbell, Dr. Esselstyn, Dr. McDougall, Dr. Bernard, Dr. Clapper, Dr. Columbus Batiste, who's here now. It's fabulous. And you can do that too.
Anything that we didn't talk about that you would like to share with others?
The only thing is I want you to remember is if you're struggling with this changeover, you just email me, okay? And I will get you started. I know how to get people started, and I know how to keep them on it. Even if they fall off the wagon, I know how to get you back on. It's doable. It's not as hard as you think. It tastes great. We have so many ways of making plant food taste great. Like the brownies I had today. Yeah, I mean, really. Those were outrageous, weren't they? But also, when it comes to animals, I don't care if you don't care about the animals. It's okay with me as long as you're eating a way that doesn't hurt them, you're helping them. And if you don't think about animals too often, that's all right. I'd like you to know more about that, and if you do care about animals, I'd like you to get a hold of me for that too. Because I can tell you every industry, approximately what's going on and why we need to stop it. Because no animal, I don't care if it's a rodeo or entertainment, circuses and zoos, we need to stop harming them for our own purposes. Everybody thinks we should use animals. We should use animals to do something for us. No, they are equal to us. If you want to understand where I'm coming from, I listened to Philip Woolen, he's the Martin Luther King of our vegan movement. And if you ever listen to his talk, which is called Get the Meat Off the Menu, he won the international debate. I've never heard a 10-minute speech so profound in my life. He had a saying during the speech, when it comes to suffering, we suffer as equals. A dog is a pig, is a bear, is a boy. And he will explain that so well in 10 minutes. It's the reason he won the international debate. He's a great friend of mine, and he donates to all these organizations like Sea Shepherd, and he puts his money where his heart is to help the animals.
Now, some people say vegans are killing animals.
Well, vegans do kill animals just by driving a car. We don't kill animals to the best that we can do, as far as practical and probable. Sometimes we can't help to kill animals because we're living on this earth. Every time you fly an airplane, you're probably killing some animals, or being in a boat, it happens. I choose to do the best I can not to kill anything. I don't even kill flies anymore. If you listen to Dr. Jonathan Balcombe on his Insects and Flies book, oh my goodness, he is absolutely fantastic. So we just have to do the best we can. We kill animals probably when we till up the soil for our plants. But this is just doing the best we can not to kill, rather than intentionally using or killing them for our own purposes, for either making money or eating or whatever. or making fur fashion. Years ago, when I was first married in 1961, I had a fur hat. It was beautiful on me. It looked so good. I wore it on my wedding anniversary trip. It was a beautiful fur hat. I am mortified that I had that hat now because I know what it means. And I work for PETA a lot. I do a lot of animal rights protests with PETA. I go inside stores to sell all these things like Urban Outfitters, and I tell them at the loudspeaker, stop selling fur, stop selling leather. You're hurting animals. And I don't mind being loud in this case because they need to know. And there's a lot of people all around the United States anyway who are protesting also at Urban Outfitters.
It's absolutely going to die when you eat it. In
Yeah.
our case, nothing absolutely has to die, is what I like to say to people.
No animal wants to die who doesn't want to die. And to force an animal by putting stuff in their eyes and hitting with a prod to go up that chute to go die, they don't want to die. They don't want to die any more than you do. Or your dog would. You wouldn't do it to your dog. They even have these wild milking contests at rodeos now. It's so sexist. Just, who can get the most milk out of the cow, and they have children sometimes doing it too. They're teaching our children that animals don't care and don't have feelings. I hate to tell you, but from Hope Bohanec and her book Humane Hoax, animals have the same feelings we do. They have love, they have jealousy, they have anger, they have happiness and joy. They deserve to live as free as possible, to feel all their emotions naturally, not have it forced upon them to do things. There's no such thing as humane meat, by the way. People say, oh, I only get humane meat. No animal wants to die. They all go to the same slaughterhouse. So there's no such thing as humane meat, as humane eggs. Because for every girl chicken in your backyard, there was a boy who was murdered, emascerated, or suffocated. So there's no humane eggs, there's no humane milk or cheese, there's no humane purses made from alligators. We have to leave the animals alone, and then our planet, by the way, will start to heal. And our bodies will start to heal. We all want to heal and feel good. We all want to look our best and feel our best. If we leave the animals alone and off our plates, we will start to heal.
You have a favorite quote you want to share real quick?
Philip Woolen is one of my favorites. When it comes to suffering, we're all equals. A dog is a pig, is a bear, is a boy.
Well, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.